Versa best company.
Versa Business System.
It's a better
Versa Business System.
Versa Business System.
Welcome to the Versa Business Tips Podcast. I'm your host, founder, and CEO of Versa Business Systems, Shaheen Mazloom. We're here with an exciting guest today, Andy Seeley. He's the man, the myth, the legend behind local lead generation, among a few other things, the founder and CEO of Creatively Disruptive. Thanks for joining us today, man. How you doing today?
Great. It's good to see you, Shaheen.
Nice to see you too, man. So, Andy, for those out there that don't know who you are and what Creatively Disruptive does, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So Creatively Disruptive, we formed in 2015, feels like a long time ago. We've been in business for 10 years, which really is a long time for a digital ad agency.
Yeah.
They tend to come and go. And there's some reasons behind that I'd be excited to dig into. But we started it mainly based on tough times that myself and my business partner had ourselves, and that there wasn't really anything out there to support small business owners when they go through certain times.
Right.
There's a lot of ad agencies and so forth that will throw up Facebook ads and so forth and do things, and they come and go, and that's not usually what most business owners are really, really looking for. In a nutshell, I would say what we sell, and I think this might resonate a little bit with you, Shaheen, is every business owner at some stage has those moments where they're staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. in the morning, wondering, how am I going to get through the next day? How am I going to make that payroll? How am I going to get that order fulfilled? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And really wondering, oh my God, I'm stuck. I don't know how to do it. Right. What we wanted to be is that company that you look at the ceiling, you're worried about it, and then you go, you know what?
I'm in good hands.
I'm going to reach out to the guys at Creatively Disruptive, and I'll have somebody who will be battling with me to solve this issue.
Yeah.
And we really do that. And it might sound like a throwaway thing, because you might look at us and go, okay, you're a digital marketing agency. You build websites, you do Facebook ads, you do Instagram, you do all the different platforms and so forth, and email marketing. But we actually go a long way into the auditing, the digging through the business. We've got hundreds of clients, and we've seen what the ones that do well do, right, and we've seen the ones that do poorly do. And we actually give a lot of business advice to our clients as well, where we say, okay, in your business, this is what success looks like. This is what failure looks like. Let's have a little bit more of this than that.
Right.
And then building out like objectives based on what they want to accomplish for themselves, not just, a biggest thing that we get somebody who comes through the door and they say, I want to make $50,000 a month. All right, great. Why 50? Why not 65? Why not 100? Why not 200? Or why not 25? Why 50? And almost always they don't know why 50. They just, it sounds like a number that sounds good.
Yeah. Well, it sounds good and it sounds doable, right?
Right. And we'll dig into, hang on, let's actually talk about, what is the house that you want to live in 3 years' time? What is the car that you want to drive? What are the vacations that you're going on? What do you want to do with your family? What, depending on where you are in your life, what is your retirement going to look like? And we kind of like price that all up.
Right.
And we can actually back end that into all the way down to, this is how much your leads need to cost.
Yeah.
This is how many leads need to be generated. This is what your close rate needs to be. This is what you need to be charging per customer. And a lot of times there's holes in that game for a lot of businesses,
Yeah.
and they don't have that I guess that roadmap from how much a lead costs all the way to living in their dream house in 3 years' time, right?
Yeah, 100%. You know, I've worked with a lot of different marketing companies over the years, and the ones that I've stuck with and really are the best are the ones that do it exactly like you are. You're figuring out, okay, well, what's the end goal here? And then you're working backwards to figure out, okay, well, how do we get you there, right? What does the cost per lead need to be? What is your average customer going to pay you? Is that monthly? Is that one time? You know, how can we increase that? You know, what can we increase it to? And how, you know, all those different metrics are so important, because otherwise you just have this goal that's this number, and you know, you're not really sure how to get there. And there's a way to really, like you said, you got to know exactly where you're going, and there's always a way to figure out how to get there. You just got to work backwards
Right.
from, okay, what's the
It's
end
like,
goal, and how are
yeah,
we going to get you there?
it's like,
Love
what's the
that.
point? What's the
Yeah,
point? Because, you know, being an entrepreneur, being a small business owner, being a large business owner, it's tough. You know, people,
100%.
employees often,
Otherwise, you're just working another job if you're not,
right.
you know,
And
if
it's
you're not doing it
it's
that way.
tough, and we take on a lot of liability. We take on a lot of risk. If things
Yep.
fail, there's a lot of shit, I guess, that can fall on my shoulders.
Yeah.
So at the same time, if I have the potential of negative, I must have a good idea of what the positive is that I'm trying to get done.
Yeah.
And it actually really does help your marketing agency to really know exactly what's at stake. And
Yeah.
if you're working with an agency that doesn't care about what's at stake, you're working with the wrong one. You want to
100%.
work with an agency that cares about you and your family and what you're trying to create. And if they're not interested, look for another agency, because
Yeah.
you know you need to be in it to win it. And it is, I always say to people, this is kind of like a war. And there's battles that we're going to take, and we're going to win some things, we're going to lose some things, there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be some major victories, there's going to be really good stuff. And what you want to know is the guy who's with you is with you to win it,
Yeah.
and actually understands what's at stake in winning it.
Yeah.
And it makes it a lot easier for us. I mean, for example, right now we have 2 e-com clients that have, their stated aim is an exit strategy. So
Mhm.
if they were to come into us and all we knew was that they wanted to make $200,000,
Right.
you know, and one of them actually is quite sophisticated and they know exactly what they need to do to kind of get their valuation. The other
Right.
one really had no clue. They were just like, I want to be able to sell the business and be able to retire. And you got to start with, well, what is retirement? How much do you need to
Right.
earn? You know, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And it starts more than I want to sell the business for $6 million. It starts with,
Right.
how long do you want to be, how long are you going to live for? Let's say you live to
Right.
100, you're only 55, so it's 45 years. How much
Right.
do you want to be earning per year? You know, but how does that look, right? And we
Right.
kind of dug into it almost to the point of, let's say you get a big cash out and you put it into a CD investment fund and you're making 4% per year, right?
Right.
How much does that nut needs to be to
Yeah.
fund your
Exactly.
expenses? And then we back it back into, well, hey, we need to build your business to have a valuation of $12 million.
Right.
What does that need to be, right? Like, you know, and we'll literally work through that whole process to actually find out, okay, we need to be generating, you know, 32 leads a day at X number of dollars, and you need to be closing at this number. And if we do that for 3 years, you will be at that number. You can sell your
Right.
business and you can retire.
Yeah.
And I think starting from that, I think, and a lot of times when I talk to people about choosing agencies, what I will say is, look for an agency that truly gets your root drive, your root goal,
Your
and backs
why. Your
your why.
why. Why are you doing this? Right?
Correct.
Like
Yep.
a lot of, and it's crazy. You would think as entrepreneurs, most people know why they're doing it or what their end goal is. But it's crazy to think that most entrepreneurs don't. They're not treating, you know, they're just treating it like a job at the end of the day. They go to
Right.
work and they work hard and they got all this stress, and for what? Because when you stop working, you stop making money, and you don't. At the end of the day, you have nothing you can sell. You have no. I mean, it's
Right.
it's pointless, right? Why put yourself through that headache? You might as well just actually go get a job.
Right. Right.
You
Without
know,
any of the downside. Right.
exactly,
So yeah,
exactly.
and a lot of this stuff comes from bad experiences that my partner and I have had in the early days, where we got our butts kicked pretty hard in multiple different ways. We come from pretty humble beginnings. I definitely came from. I mean, my dad and my parents did quite well for themselves, but that didn't necessarily get passed on to me to the
Right.
point, because I'm a funny talker, right? I've got a bit of an accent, so I come from New Zealand originally,
Yeah.
and came over to the United States in 1999 as a
Okay.
25-year-old.
I came in
Um,
95 from England.
there you go. There
Yeah.
you go. So I came, so 99 at 25, and I had a backpack and $500, and I was coming over
Right.
here, supposed to be here for just a couple of months,
Right.
and then heading off to England. And then I met a girl who's
Yeah.
actually still downstairs.
There you go.
And had to figure out, okay, what we're going to do in the United States. And
Right.
we own multiple businesses. We've owned gymnastics gyms, because she's a gymnastics instructor.
Okay.
I was a sales director for television stations. I opened probably 7 or 8 CarMax stores, the auto
Yeah.
superstore.
Yeah. Yeah.
My first ever job in the United States.
Nice.
Started a publishing company, which did quite reasonably well. We ended up selling that in 2015, which helped us to jump into this business.
Right.
But we also had our downsides. In 2008, 2009, when the financial collapse happened, it absolutely smashed the gymnastics gym. We lost half the members in 1 month, so we went from like 300 kids to 150.
Wow.
Financially, it basically cleaned us out. We
Right.
actually filed a bankruptcy. We actually filed
Right.
bankruptcy to
I
clean
bet.
that up, and so we've kind of experienced.
And then you basically had to deal with the same thing again with COVID.
Right. But COVID, here's the funny thing about COVID, and this is kind of an interesting way to look at things from a business standpoint.
Mm,
Most of our businesses during COVID were kids activity centers. All of them were shut down.
yeah.
Right. About 20% of them said, we're going to continue paying you because you're so important to us that we want you to stay alive. And
Wow.
they figured out how to pay us, 20% of our client base. But we didn't let go
Interesting.
of a single employee, and we quickly pivoted from serving the kids activity centers to serving e-commerce. And the net result meant that by the end of 2020, we actually still had a growth year, because we were able to quickly pivot to
Yeah.
a different.
Yeah. We pivoted during COVID, and we had our best year ever.
Right. But yeah, we had I've experienced bankruptcy back in 2000, and I think we filed it in 2009, 2010. That was the low of the low, but it was
Yeah.
also possibly the best teacher that I ever had.
100%. It's crazy. The worst moments of your life end up being your best teaching opportunities
Absolutely.
or
And
learning opportunities.
and
Yeah, 100%.
it really did it really put me in a position of, I never want another small business owner, if I have any part to play in it, ever experiencing that same thing. And more
Right.
important than anything, feeling alone
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
So that's in a very long-winded
Yeah.
way.
No,
That's
I mean, I
that's
love
where
it.
we come from.
I love it because I mean it is so true. You bring up some very good points. Not being alone. Now more than ever, we're seeing so many companies, one man, two man companies, doing crazy amounts of business, right? More than ever before because of automation and AI and the way technology is. I mean, this year we'll probably see one man companies hit billions of dollars in revenue, right? It's unbelievable. But again, they're not doing it alone,
No,
right? They have people that they're partnered with that are getting them there, whether it's marketing companies or IT companies or accounting firms, business consultants, etc. All those things are just as important. They may not be physically part of the company and getting a paycheck specifically from that company, but they're getting a 1099 and they're doing a lot of business together. And,
Exactly.
it's because of companies like you that want to be there for those companies and grow with them. Why companies succeed versus the ones that don't.
Right.
And we're the same way, like we believe that the reason why companies fail is because they don't have the right information and they don't have the right companies that have their backs and are partnered with them,
Yeah.
right? Like they need the right information, they need the right companies to work with that are going to truly have their back and help them succeed, rather than just trying to make a quick buck and get a deal done. They're actually trying to excel that
Well,
business.
typically, if you're looking to be the only guy doing everything, your pie is going to be much smaller.
Yeah,
And you look at Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt was out on the track by himself, winning gold medals, but he had
right.
probably a support team of 20 helping him get there.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
exactly.
you got
Yeah,
to
it's
look at it the same way.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And like, people try to compare themselves to other people. Like, oh well, this guy did it with this many employees, and they don't, but they don't see the whole background. We literally probably have, I don't even know, hundreds of companies that we work with that have helped us get to where we are today. Without as a company, we only have, I think we're under 10 employees. You know what
Yep.
I mean? As
Yep.
far as within the company. But yeah, without those other hundreds of people and companies that we've worked with, we'd never have made it 8 years, and we wouldn't still be kicking. You know
Right.
what I mean?
You can't be the
Um,
expert of everything, right? So you want to
yeah,
build a team with you.
100%, 100%, and it doesn't always have to be direct hires. I try to explain that to people all the time. There's so many experts out there that do the things that you need them to do. You don't need to hire a $150,000 a year, CMO or CFO or whatever. There's fractional CFOs and there's marketing companies and lead generation companies and this, that, and the other, for a fraction of the cost and hiring somebody full time. And you're most likely going to get a better candidate, because the more your company grows, the more business you're going to do with them. So the more they're going to grow as well. It's a
Yep.
win-win situation.
It is. It is.
So I love that. So, creatively disruptive is designed to help more of the family-based businesses generate leads, correct? Like your
Yeah. So
gyms and
like I said, Ashworth Strategy is definitely a e-commerce
right,
agency, but it's a brand. Really, there's one company with two brands, right? So we
right,
actually bought an e-com agency a little while ago, and that was Ashworth, Strategies. The
yeah,
reason for that was that we had a lot of skill and a lot of ability in the e-com realm, but we had
right,
a pretty stellar reputation in a certain niche with Creatively Disruptive, and we didn't want to muddy those waters. So we actually bought an agency that actually had some pretty good players involved with it too. So we upgraded our capabilities, which were already pretty good, but
right.
it was a specific to that niche.
Mm-hmm.
So we took that over. But Creatively Disruptive itself has always been a small business, local, like 10-mile radius focused
Right.
marketing agency. And one of the things we work to do is make your business a household name in that 10-mile
In that 10
radius.
mile radius. Let's stick on that topic for a minute. So
Yeah.
10-mile radius. If you are a company like us that works nationwide, do you think there's a big benefit into also focusing really heavily on that 10-mile radius? Or, because I haven't, I think I'm a firm believer in everybody you meet should know what you do for a living.
Yep.
But now that you're talking about this 10-mile radius, it makes me think everybody in that 10-mile radius should also know what we do.
Right. So I would say, depending on your, like, targeting's everything, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, depending on what you're doing, I mean, you can do what we do nationwide if the niche is small enough,
Right.
right?
So
I
like
mean,
you guys work nationwide. You'll work with any business that needs your help. do you guys also have a within a 10-mile radius
Not for
campaign?
ourselves. So we focus on niche. So
Got it.
if you're working on a nationwide kind of focus,
Yeah.
you have to have like, especially in the United States, the market's so big that
Yeah.
you have to have a tight niche, right? So our niche, especially with kids activity centers, is about 20,000 businesses in the United States, right? So
Right.
it's very tight. It's like having a
Yeah.
town of 20,000
Yeah.
mothers, right?
Yeah.
For a gymnastics gym.
Right.
And and if you can find that niche and really serve that niche,
Yeah.
everything becomes so much easier. The language that you're using, the imagery that you share, the targeting on the platforms, everything becomes so focused and so easy.
Interesting. So, I hear both things, right? So I've obviously, spoke to a lot of different marketing companies, had a lot on the show as well. Some will say niche, 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 but then others, especially like the tech guys, the AI guys, they say niche isn't necessary anymore. Now, the last guy I spoke to that said that's because you can literally have an AI create 100 landing pages for every business type that there is in 30 seconds, right? What is the benefit nowadays to a niche? Because in my mind also is if you have a niche, then you're limiting your customer base. If you have the ability to hit all the different
I
types
mean,
of companies, like why
so,
why focus on
so
a
the,
specific
the, the
niche?
ability is budget, I would suggest. So,
Budget. Yeah,
so
okay.
you know,
I get that.
if like, we'll just use Facebook as a
Yeah.
as a platform, and
Yeah.
there's multiple platforms that you might need to
Right.
be on, right? So let's say you're just trying to run a campaign on Facebook.
Yeah.
If you have an unniched campaign
Right.
that you're focusing on, there's 12 of, it might even be close to 20 million businesses in the
Right.
United States, and let's say it's costing you.
I think it's closer to 30 million now.
Right. So 30 million people that you're trying to reach out to. No, sorry, 30 million businesses.
Yeah.
Let's say each of those businesses have potentially 10 people that you might be able to talk to who might bring you into the business. I
Right.
mean, it, 10 is probably too much because that would be 300
Right.
million people.
Right.
But you're talking about hundreds of maybe 100 million people that you're trying to
Right.
reach, because remember, especially with Facebook, you're reaching personalities, you're not necessarily reaching businesses, right?
Right.
So let's say there's 100 million people that you're trying to reach. The cost of that is millions a month,
Right. Right.
right? So most small businesses, and I don't care if you're reaching out, I mean, locally. I mean, our budget is, I mean, we could probably spend more than what we are because we are so niche. We don't need to spend that much more.
Right. Right.
But if we wanted to try, if we wanted to reach everybody, we'd literally be spending millions a month,
Oh
right?
yeah. 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 Yeah.
So to me, it actually is like budget, and then it's like,
Yeah, I got you. So niche definitely makes more sense in terms of running your different marketing campaigns. Would you recommend keeping all your marketing campaigns within that same niche, right? So you're
yeah.
hitting them
So
all in
niching,
different areas.
and it's important to kind of think about what niching is. So
Right.
our marketing niche, our brand niche is kids activity centers. However, we've had banks, we've
Right.
had pool companies, we've had roofing companies, we've had bakeries, we've had restaurants, we've had all those, and they come in because they're like, hey, you're doing a really, or my friend that
Right.
has this gymnastics gym says that you guys are great. Can you help me with my plumbing company, right?
Right.
So we're not niche to the point that we're going to turn away the company.
Right.
We're
Right. 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 Yeah.
spending our money and making
Yeah.
our voice about every company, because there's
Right.
real value, Shaheen, for me to run like if I was running an ad, and let's say there's a really good sweet spot for you. There's a really good, your favorite customer is a certain guy. If you
Right.
talk about the things that are really important to him and his industry,
Yeah.
you're going to think Shaheen is my guy.
Right.
You don't want to just be another financial
Everyone's got.
company,
Yeah. Yeah.
because everyone's trying to do that. And
Right.
the unsophisticated businesses
Yeah.
are like that restaurant. You go to a restaurant and and the menu's this thick, and they're trying to be everything. They're doing every burger under the sun, every steak, every Italian
They're
meal.
doing nothing great.
Right.
Yeah.
But if
Cheesesteak
you
factory.
you go into that great Italian restaurant and there's literally 5 mains that you're choosing from, are probably 5
Fine dining.
amazing meals, right?
Yeah.
And the way we look at it is we've got probably a couple of hundred businesses on the lead gen side of things, and they generate a really good revenue for us. We would be over the moon to have 1,000,
Right.
but our little tiny niche is 20,000, growing every year.
Right.
Like, for us to really be like cranking it and being an amazing business, right? Which would put me into kind of like legacy kind of wealth, where my
Right.
great grandchildren are being affected by it. I would only need to capture 5% of that
Right.
market share,
Right.
and I am really the only business in that niche that is focused
Right.
on that niche. There's lots of ad agencies and
Right.
agencies
For
that work
sure.
with these activity centers, but they also work on it with everybody else in the sun. We're
Right.
literally known to work in that. And similarly with the ecom, we've got a couple of systems and processes that are kind of unique that allows us to really help startups, and
Right.
there's very few agencies that even want to touch startups.
Yeah.
So we'll work with a startup if they are sensible and and we'll help them be sensible by kind of
Right.
taking them through the process. But
Yeah.
we have some processes that allows us to help a startup with a really good idea and a really good product and a really good operating process to actually really do a good job of reaching out to their client base. So, and even mid-sized companies that have been doing things, we actually have a process that allows them to kind of solve why are they stuck. A lot of e-coms, and I know we're going away from the local ones, but a lot of e-coms, they will grow and then they'll get stuck. They kind of
Right.
hit a ceiling and they
Yeah.
don't know.
I feel like that's most businesses, right?
Right. And we have actually got a pretty cool process that actually pretty consistently, I'd say 95% of the time, allows us to unplug that stickiness and then get to
Right.
the next level. And, we're very specific with the wording. We're very specific with who we want to be a customer. And
Right.
because we live in the United States, I mean, this is the land of, like, it's a bottomless pit of opportunity. I think
Yeah.
any business owner should be thinking about the opportunity rather than the scarcity. I'm
Yeah.
just looking at my background there. That's a bit
Yeah. It's so
crazy.
true.
But, if you look at the world from an abundance standpoint, especially the United States,
Yeah.
and not be like, whoa, I need to try to serve every single person under the sun.
Right.
You'll actually serve no one.
Yeah.
Right? There's a reason why there's Italian restaurants and not everything restaurants.
Right.
Right? It's because those that love Italian will seek you out.
Yeah.
Right? Those that need financial services, and maybe even specific financial services, will look for you. Right? Those that need those 20,000 kids activity centers, hundreds of thousands of e-com businesses will search us out, and it's a much easier sale. You end up talking to people about what's important to them rather than, well, you're the same as every other guy that's out there.
Exactly.
And
I think it's a lot to do with also being unique, right? I mean, everybody's got to be unique in their own way, by what it is that they're offering, how they're offering it, who they're offering it to, right? If they have some sort of niche, whether it's the product that they offer, who they offer it to, I think everybody needs a niche in a certain extent for sure. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yep. And like I said, we have another brand called High Level Thinkers. And we still have we've got 12 clients with High Level Thinkers, and it's basically the brands that are all under the same banner, which is Creatively Disruptive. But it's not. And High Level Thinkers is very local service businesses like remodeling companies, roofing companies, plumbers, electricians, and different things. And we use that company to serve that. Right now, because Ashworth's doing so well and Creatively Disruptive are doing so well, we're kind of just trying to like fill our boots with those two brands.
Right.
Although there's some things that we're going to start doing with high level thinkers to really serve those service based local businesses too, because we've got a number of products that just is kicking butt and taking names. So it's like I said, getting back to the niche. When you're talking to people and they feel like, oh, you're talking to me, you understand me, Shaheen, you're my guy. I'm your guy. More importantly, I'm your guy. I need to do business with you, Shaheen, because the stuff that you're saying is my business, and you get me, you understand me.
You
I
get
want to
me,
work with you
understand me,
rather than some niche guy that's just saying, hey, buy my product.
Right. Yep. No, I totally get that. So when a company, whether it's a service, well, I think every business is a service-based company to an extent, right? They're looking to generate better quality leads, increase their, increase their revenue, or get to that next level. What does that process look like when working with you guys, Andy?
So typically when we come in, again, this is going to kind of go down when you're choosing a correct agency, right? I always kind of like bring that because, if there's the most common question that our sales team has, the common thing that they hear is, oh, I'm talking to multiple different people right now. Now we win a lot of those, right? I'm happy to say we win a lot of them. And one of the reasons why is we actually don't just say, Shaheen, blah, blah, blah. And you say, okay, I'll work with you. And then you pay us the money and we start running ads for you, right? We don't do that. We actually go through that setup period of digging deep into your business, digging into what you want, digging into how you need it to be. We've got a thing called a rapid result testing process, especially if you're an e-com business, where we actually run a campaign that will give us amazing data on what the market is telling us that it wants to hear from you, that will make it like purchase from you.
Right.
We also
Like Google Trends, something along that lines.
Yeah, well, we actually run campaigns and we spend money on basically finding out. It's basically, in a nutshell, to make it really simple. It's kind of like having a room of 20 people looking through your product and giving feedback on it and saying, I really like this, I really like that, I want that.
You're split testing different things, right?
Yeah, kind of, but more getting the market to tell us what audiences specifically wants it, how do they need to be spoken to get them to jump on it before we're asking you to spend loads of money. Because a lot of agencies will have you spend loads of money with them,
right. So they can figure it out, and then
and you spend $15,000 an ad spend to find out that their campaign wasn't even working. Where we've actually got this process which has allowed us to bring that ad spend down to a few $100 to actually be able to go, okay, this is the best direction that we want to take. So we do that before we start spending real money. The other part is the result action plan that we do. Now, that is where we dig into where you are today and all of your good things that are happening in your business and your bad, what's broken, what's working, what's not working, what needs to be built, what's missing. We go through all of that. Then we go, where do you want to be? And then we build out the plan of how we get you there. And before you really commit to us, we give you that so you have a really clear understanding of who we are, what our strategy is, and we have a very clear understanding of who you are and what you want.
right.
And then you make the decision, the ultimate decision. There's some costs involved to get all of this stuff done. But before you're really committed, before you've spent tens of thousands of dollars, you get to see, okay, is this the long-term partner that I want? Because the reality is, and we do it this way, and it's not for everybody. Some people are like, no, I want somebody to be running my ads now. And we'll pass on you. We just don't want to work with you because in our experience, you're going to be with us for 3 or 4 months. You're probably going to ultimately be undersatisfied. And we're going to be chasing the ball instead of ahead of the ball, right? And we're going to be constantly trying to show you, trying to prove stuff. And we doing things basically out of the sequence of success.
Right.
If you work with us and you go through our process, because we've done this 100 times. You might have done this once with the company that you own.
Right.
We've done it 100 other times with other companies. And we're like, let's just do what we know works.
Right.
And then when we present it to you, you can say, I love it. Let's move forward. Or, you know what? That's not for me. I'm out of here. Now, we will even refund you some of the money that you spend with us if you decide you don't work with us, because almost everybody wants to work with us.
Right.
Some people will go, I really like this plan. I think what you've got for me is really good. It's really useful, but I'm going to try to do this myself. And I've got some friends who know some stuff. So I'm going to use this plan and I'm going to go and do it. And then they've just paid the small amount of money for that process.
Right.
Or if you're like, you guys suck, this is a horrible thing, we'll just give you your money back. So we try to make it like a
Fair.
zero financial risk.
Yeah, no risk. If it makes sense, great. If it doesn't, we part as friends. No harm, no foul.
We're looking for 10 years of relationship.
I love that.
And before we got on air, I was listening into your conversation with that guy, and you're the same, right? You're looking for long-term relationships where you make real difference in people's lives.
Exactly. Yep.
I'm doing well. Like personally, I've got a lovely family. I've got a nice house. I've got a nice pool in the backyard. I go and I travel when I want to. I'm not ultra wealthy, but I'm comfortable and I'm happy.
Right.
Yep. I don't need to cause any difficulty to anybody to continue that. Yep. What I want from a legacy standpoint, and I'm old enough now to really want this, is I want to put as much goodness in the world where people go, you know what, working with Creatively Disruptive really helped me and my family.
Right. Exactly.
You don't need to do anything else.
Exactly. And I tell my guys that all the time. Like, you got to realize the people that you're talking to every day, when they make a decision to do business with us, there are sometimes hundreds of other people that are affected behind that decision.
Absolutely.
Right. So all their employees and their employees' kids and their employees' parents and their, there's just so it's, I love what I do, because you get to really make big change and, and for the better. It's great. And seems like you guys work very similar.
Yeah. We have a story of a client that is our very first gymnastics client, and this is 10 years ago that she started working with us, right? Still with us today. Right. And when she started, her and her sister were teaching gymnastics in this gym in Chicago, and they were making $500 a month each, right? Their husbands were basically financially supporting the business, right? Their profit was $500, but they loved coaching and that's what they wanted to do. Their husbands were earning, about 90 grand each, but they were like covering the nut and making sure that things were that they could pay the bills. Right. Fast forward to today, each of them are earning about $250,000 a year. Nice. Right? Their husbands can work or not work. They own the building that they're in. Right. They go on vacations all the time based, from the money that they're earning. We've actually literally switched over, the way the husbands look at the business from that's our wives' hobby business to holy moly, this is actually enriching our lives to a large degree. And that's real change. That's real impact that we've made on their lives, two families' lives. All of the employees, they now employ, I think they went from 25 employees to about 50, 60 employees. All of them are getting paid really good money. Right. On top of that, they went from 400 kids to 1,000. All of those kids are learning how to be stronger, more powerful, and better. Right. And you're right. It's not just the 2 or 3 people that you're serving, that you're paying the bills. It's all of the rest that they affect. Yeah. And we've really turned that business into like a powerhouse.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So, Andy, before we got started, you had mentioned that our viewers and listeners could get essentially a credit to start going through the motions and figuring out what they need to do as far as getting their lead generation and their marketing in the right direction. What was that, and how do we get moving on something?
So we have products that range from $300 or $400, right, up to multiple thousands of dollars, right? So
Right.
depending on what you want to do. But
Right.
what we wanted to do, for your people is to just give $500 of services, right? So $500, it's cash that you can put towards, right, the services, which means that you could actually just come in and actually have a service, and not have to pay anything else. It's not like, hey, here's
Right.
$500 if you spend 20,000.
Right.
$500 that you can use for anything that we do,
Amazing.
because we want to help, and we know that it might be that little jump that will actually take you to another level and ultimately
Right.
get where you want to be, and maybe along the way you become a long-term, very happy customer. So we wanted to offer that $500 because it's sometimes that's just enough to just push it over the edge to get you to where
Yeah.
you want to be.
Absolutely. I'm definitely going to be taking advantage of that. It's funny. We're in the middle of looking for a new marketing company to work with. And, we do most of our stuff in house, but we completely stopped all of our ads during the election just because it was just out of control
Yeah.
expensive.
It was.
And, we weren't that happy with the company we were using with the ads anyway. So how do we what's the best website to go? I know you have multiple brands within a
So if
brand.
you're
Where's
so
the
if
best
you're
way to
an
go?
if you're an e-com company, if you're like e-commerce selling stuff online,
Mhm.
go to ashworthstrategy.com, or you can go to Ashworth Strategy on Instagram or
Okay.
Facebook. But ashworthstrategy.com, you can jump through, and have a look at the team and look at what we do, have a look at some of our clients that we've worked and how we've helped people, and obviously reach out to us and chat with us
Yeah.
and say, hey, saw you with Shaheen, and where's my 500. We'd be happy to help with that. And then
Great.
we've got more of a lead gen, whether it's nationwide or
Right.
local, creativelydisruptive.com. Go there and do the same. You can have a look through, you can see a little bit about us. We kind of have a little bit of fun on the website. It's not super straight laced. There's a little bit of fun and giggles, especially if you go to the team part where we talk about ourselves. We don't take ourselves too seriously.
Love it.
And then you can reach out to us and do the same. Say, hey, I saw you talking to Shaheen. Where's my $500? I'd like to
Right.
try something. But
Very cool.
creativelydisruptive.com,
Yeah.
Creatively Disruptive on Instagram or Facebook is probably the best ways to reach out to us.
Great. Awesome. And I will make sure that that's in the description for the
Awesome.
video and the audio. That way people can just click through to it and reach out to you guys that way. Get their $500 and hopefully start gearing that marketing in the right direction.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for hopping on with us today, Andy. Dude, I cannot wait to dive into this with you either later on this week or next, and see where we can take our marketing and our ads.
Absolutely. Love to help you.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Andy.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.